Ladies and gentlemen, coming up right now, we've got the panel discussion on retail's next wave of digital disruption. And it's my privilege and pleasure to introduce our panel and invite them on stage. But before we do that, we'll set up the stage, and I'd like to acknowledge our partners. Our platinum partners, Amazon, Salesforce, and Avery Dennison. Knowledge partner, Deloitte. Gold partners, AWS, Sesashai, Trusser, and Symphony AI. Retail technology partners, Zebra. Digital display partner, LG. Silver partners, TVS Electronics, Integrated Active Monitoring, Tag ID Solutions, Sensormatic, Newland AIDC, Postbank, Impage, and CISPA. RFID partner, iTech RFID. Associate partners, ClickPost, Delopt, Consentin, OroPro, Orion Pro. Jarvis, Soham AI, Haptic, Brio, Google Cloud. Event partners, CASA, RF Genie, Oli Retail, Lippy AdTech, ABC Comnet Private Limited, Sangam CRM, Mitigata, Send Security Solutions, Apollo Pharmacy and Apollo 24/7, Retail Guard, Raymond Realty, Sure Solutions. Our gifting partners, EcoSac. Refreshment partner is Fizzy Goatees Soda. Charity partner is Train, and magazine partner is Torai. And digital marketing partner is Replenish. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now to invite our panelists on stage. He is the Chief Digital Officer, CDO, at Marks and Spencer Reliance India Private Limited. Let's make some noise for our first panelist, Abhishek Lal. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, please show me that you are awake and full of energy. Thank you. He is Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, iTech RFID. Please welcome Ashim Ashok Patel. He is Vice President Sales, Silicon EMEAI, Impinj. Please welcome Frederick Humboldt. He is Chief Technology Officer, McDonald's India. A warm welcome to Jagpreet Pabla. He is CDIO, I would presume, as Chief Digital and Information Officer, Indriya by Aditya Birla Jewelry. Please put your hands together for Sandeep Mistry. Let's make some noise for Head Technology, Tim Hortons India, Sujoy Mitra. And ladies and gentlemen, to take us through this panel discussion and moderate the discussion, it's over to the Chief Experience Officer, Rexemptor Consult LLP, Siju Narayan. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's over to the Magnificent Seven, and they're going to engage you for the next nearly an hour. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Welcome to the Graveyard Shift. You know, what's my favorite song right now? Have you heard of Disturbed? Have you heard of that song, The Sound of Silence? Why am I being reminded of that?
Come on, guys, can we have some energy, please?
Thank you so much. How was the lunch? How was the lunch? Good? Excellent? We'll have some fun for the next 1 hour? With the 7 guys standing here. Okay. So the rules are that I'm not going to do this alone, right? And I'm going to be inviting you folks. I'll wait for 15 seconds. Then I'll go pick up someone, and we'll have a nice little discussion. Fair? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Someone's already fast-forwarded to evening. I don't mind that, but let's have the enthu, right? Fair? So why don't we welcome these gentlemen out here with a big round of applause, please. Now, you've heard of roti, kapda or makan, right? Now it's changed. It's roti, kapda and jevar. And it can't be just roti. It has to be roti with something to gulp it down with, right? So Abhishek will give the roti. Yeah? No, you're not paying attention. Where is Abhishek from? Where is Abhishek from? How will Marks and Spencer give roti here? Will give kapda. Thank you so much. So who gives roti? Who gives roti? Would you want to join, please? Okay, so the reason why I'm doing this is so that you take away something in the next 45 minutes, right? It's your investment of time and effort. They have quite a few things to share with you. And my hope is that I'll be able to structure the discussion in a manner that benefits you. And there I will need your help. Yes? Sure? Perfect. So let me kick this off with so it's all about retail's next wave of digital disruption, right? Now that's it makes me cringe a bit because when we talk of next wave of digital disruption, I've been old enough to see the initial, the start of digital disruption, so-called digital disruption, when it was just purely disruption as well. Then it took on multiple forms, and now we are here to discuss in terms of what the last wave is. But before we get to the next wave, I think it's only fair to understand what is it that has happened in the disruption scene or in the digital disruption scene in the last 5 years. Why am I talking about 5 years? Because we're talking back to 2020, when arguably most of the seeds of digital disruption were sown. Right? So let's understand from the folks out here as to what has happened in your respective organizations in the last 5 years. Right? Sujay, if I can start with you. Sujay represents Tim Hortons. Right? If you pay attention to everything that you say, he's got a 15% voucher for your next Tim Hortons visit. Okay? Sujay.
Yeah, Sujay. So I guess if we take the last 5 years, and I would span it across two organizations that I've worked with. One is...
Can you hear Sujay clearly?
Okay. One was furniture retailer, Hometown, which is part of Future Group. And the other is my current organization, which is Tim Hortons. Now, if I have to bring out common threads, so to say, in both, very, very different. One is in F&B and the other is into furniture retail, very, very high engage, retail, so to say. One is how to get it. Omni-channel has been a thing which has been working for quite some time now, which ultimately comes down to identifying your customer, even though you might be using disparate systems, some offline, some online, and we are all primarily, as in the organizations I'm talking of, are primarily offline-driven organization. Online too, but primarily offline-driven organization. So how do you actually find that thread, connect the, identify the single source of truth to identify the customer, and then drive your entire customer service, your entire product experience? So that hasn't changed. When I look into, furniture retail, that would start from a customer who is kind of inquiring about a furniture to actually, doing lead management there, to actually when the customer buys and then tying it back to the delivery. And in India, we also do installation of the furniture, right? So this entire loop. When it comes down to my current organization, Tim Hortons, the moment you're talking of online, we're basically talking of aggregator, right? Cafe, how many times do you actually download individual apps? McDonald's can be an exception. Individual apps and place orders. It's very, very aggregator driven. So the idea is, how the order, how do you streamline this entire order flow seamlessly into the point of sale, into where you are selling, and then again a seamless movement back into the aggregator systems. So effectively, this entire online to offline falls under the omni-channel piece. That's definitely one. Number two is the other one that I've seen is it has always been about the supply side of it, which is about how do you integrate the multiple players. This is true. Honestly speaking, even in today's day and age, and this problem has been there since a while, even in today's day and age, multiple retailers haven't actually touched this bit. Okay, but this remains constant, both from a retail standpoint, and it's also fairly in vogue even today when it comes to F&B cafe standpoint, wherein you are trying to completely integrate the right from placing an order to your invert to your replenishment cycle. Of course, the other being demand replenishment that never goes away. So I think that's the way I would put it from a common.
So on both the demand as well as on supply side, you've seen these nuggets of digital interventions happen over the two companies that you worked for in the last 5 years, right?
Correct. One other point is more of a shift that I have seen is more on everything, at the bottom of everything, analytics has started playing a huge bit of role. Whether it is, you talk of anything, you talk of your CRM solutions or your loyalty solutions, analytics has become a very core piece. And that's something that is common. It doesn't matter which industry you work in.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sujay. Abhishek, Sujay kind of pointed out in terms of O2O and on the consumer side, how do you identify a consumer and kind of satisfy his demands, and of course analytics as the key digital interventions in the last 5 years. What have you seen in the last 5 years?
So I think most important shift has been consumer has moved to the center of the universe. Earlier, it could have been for retailers a location, it could have been merchandise, products, but accelerated by COVID, consumer moved to the center. What it meant was the cycle of awareness, consideration, purchase, became very quick. Speed became the name of the game, which actually was the catalyst of making everything digital from analog, if I can say that. Now, if you look from the perspective of consumer being at the center and redo demand, which is supply chain, and supply chain and demand, the whole equation kind of changed. So in terms of interventions, customer experience becomes first and foremost. And that means new channels emerged, which means digital channels, online availability of products, the experience you give online, and how you measure that experience through NPS, what lessons you draw from NPS and go back and implement. So there was this whole cycle of learning, improving and implementing which has come into play. Now from a supply side of things, which meant faster deliveries, which meant more efficient supply chains, whether it is to stores or whether it is to the online channel, which actually meant then backward integration to whomsoever you are purchasing from. So there was a whole piece of technology which has come into play so that you can forecast demand closer to the sales side of things and then get products in time. And then because consumer is across channels, is channel agnostic. So online to offline, whether it is shipped from store or whether it is click and collect, whether it is placing an order online and getting it delivered from stores, or going to the stores, not finding the product and getting it delivered online, that whole piece got enabled. So big shift, consumer in the center, consumer wants their product yesterday, they don't want to wait, and that's the significant shift.
So if I were to distill out what you just mentioned, it's all in terms of how you become customer-centric in the last 5 years, and you've put in place processes and technologies that would enable you to track the customer across the entire journey, customer journey, right? And that's where the focus on supply chain also comes in. Sandeep, yours is a relatively new organization, India, But before that, of course, you've been part of Aditya Birla for a long time. What have you seen in the last 5 years? Take us through both your current jewelry and the past non-jewelry experience as well.
Sure. So good afternoon, team here. So one is I acknowledge what I've been saying, Abhishek saying, and there is a shift which has happened in last 5 years, largely in terms of consumer coming in center. The two more piece which I want to add is employees have come into in center. So when we are talking about consumer experiences, now people are talking about employee experiences because these are the employees who will be delivering that consumer experiences. If that shift is not happening in an organization where each of an employee, right from leadership team to the last man who is serving the consumer, they are not adopting technology or they are not adopting digital, then we are not able to make the shift in the consumer experience we want. So a lot of investment and work had been done by various organizations across the industry on building something on consumer employee experiences. I feel it has just started. It will move, it will shift in a big way. We have seen how data and analytics had been used earlier. Now it has become an integral part of our decision making on either day-to-day or a strategic. So big shift has happened in that. These are the two big shifts which I have seen.
No, that's very interesting because how many of you believe that customer experience, of course you need to focus on customer experience, but how many of you believe that employee experience is also something that organizations need to focus on? Okay, I think that's because employee is also a stakeholder, right? And I personally believe where I am coming in from, that there cannot be customer experience without employee experience. So it's fantastic that you're focusing on that, and I'm sure a lot of companies do that in a certain sense. But then for it to be a strategic initiative, I think that's a very, very good digital intervention. Thank you, Sandeep. Jakpreet, when it comes to McDonald's, obviously it's been a very, very exciting period, if I might say, right, over the last 5 years. And as such, the QSR segment is also very, very competitive. But then McDonald's comes with its own set of strengths. So what have you seen in the past 5 years?
So thank you for the question. I'll go a little beyond 5 years. I'll go a little bit earlier. And what I'm going to say is all in public domain. McDonald's Global in around 2017 had a target of having 1% digital sales. 1% of all sales should be digital. And this is in our last financial report. McDonald's ka India mein 70% sales are digital. This includes, of course, aggregators and our kiosks in the restaurants. So going from a thought of we should strive for 1% digital sales to 70% digital sales is an enormous transition that has happened within the restaurant and within the consumer itself. I think it's bigger, more of the consumer. We're just serving their need, how they want to interact with us. So that, I think, is one of the biggest changes that we've seen. Second change I've seen, this has taken 5 years, but I can't speak for everybody, but I think in most retailers, machine learning is being used today. AI is being used today in some form or the other. It was not there 5 years ago. It was a lot of talk about AI, but today, throughout the industry, everybody in their CDP, in their video analytics, in some form or the other is using AI. So that is another transformation which has happened quietly. While the noise is somewhere else, right, in the consumer AI and chat GPTs of the world, but there's a silent revolution which is happening within the organizations itself. So that is the second change that I see.
Maybe I'll ask you to elaborate on that a little later in the journey. But how many of you have used, how many of you are customers of McDonald's? How many of you have used digital kiosk or anything digital? So guys, you are stakeholders, right? You moved the needle from 1 to 70. I think that's a fantastic achievement, right? And thank you so much on two accounts. One, for sharing the percentages. That's a rarity. And second, for the rather incredible jump. Now, coming to Frederick, Do you kind of align with what these gentlemen are saying? Is that what you've seen as part of your boardroom discussions as well?
So for Impinj, and I think for the RFID industry, the past 5 years have been the best of the whole RFID industry. Why? Because just after COVID, you had a supply chain disruption, and you have many retailers having no information about their inventory location levels globally. So we saw a mass adoption of RFID from retailers which were not using RFID so far, moving directly.
So in which area was it? Was it in the supply side of things or on the demand side of things?
It was both. I mean, for customers, they were not able to have the right product on the right shelf at the right time. And for the supply chain, they were not able to feed on time their shops at the right time. It was a real nightmare for many retailers around the world, and unfortunately, some didn't survive. So RFID is a game changer here, has been a game changer, and will be a game changer.
So, Ashim, did you see the same things happening here in India as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I am in total sync with what Frederick just mentioned, because what we are building our solution on the platform of Impinj. They are way high on the value chain. They are a semiconductor company, and they are having these list of features, and they are the researchers. We are the guys who are applying what they have researched and the features they have. And I would like to add a little bit more. Like, we talked about employee experience, we talked about consumer experience, and we started it with roti, kapda, and jevar. That is food, clothing, and for Frederick, we started with food, clothing, and jewelry. So we didn't say we started with AI, ML, or anything. So at the end of the day, our consumer, with the digital transformation, they want the fulfillment of the physical product. They want a burger, they want a coffee, they want a apparel, they want a piece of earring or whatever. And what we are doing in the RFID for both these experiences is, from the employee experience side of it, with RFID tagging for our customers, the employees' work-life balance, has been improved to a large extent. We have customers in stores where the employees used to do night shifts in moving the boxes in and out. With RFID, that has been stopped. We had employees who were running around the store looking for a particular product. With RFID, that has been stopped. The employee is able to pay attention to the most important thing in the store, who is the customer, the consumer. And otherwise, he was busy with everything else and not paying attention to the consumer. And from the consumer side, the enrichment of the experience with RFID has been extremely to a different level altogether. First is, with all this digital transformation, the fulfillment of the product is happening in time. The right product is reaching the right consumer in the promised time. Secondly, there are a lot of analytics which we are now building on the storefront side, because of which the entire experience, like if you can visit our stand over there, you can see the put-to-play, pick-to-play kind of experiences which we have put, where the consumers are getting the benefits of RFID or the technology without even bothering what the technology it is. They don't care whether it is RFID or whether it is anything else, but they are getting the data, the information, or the experience for which they are paying for, and that is, I think, the power of technology disruption. Thank you.
No, thanks for that, Ashim. So what you're essentially saying is that you freed up employee time. I just hope one certain Mr. Murthy doesn't know about this. I didn't say that. Okay. Now, let me ask a very, very quick question to the four of you, the four Roti Kapra Jevar guys. The digital initiatives or the digital interventions that you undertook, were those point interventions or were they a part of larger corporate strategy? Yes, I mean, very quick answer.
Yes, for me.
Part of larger corporate strategy.
Yes, it's a part of the business strategy.
Sujoy?
Mix. I think I've seen both. the moment we talked of the first example I was talking of creating an omni-channel for a furniture retailer was part of a larger corporate strategy because you feel that part of business, there is a lot that usual lead management, the CRMs of the world can play a role and get integrated. But there are others. For example, the moment we are talking about the other one, supply chain side integration, bringing this end to end, this typically comes from pain points. So you keep seeing the pain points. See, in India, we generally think that you put in X number of people on the supply side, then spend there, you put this will get resolved. It doesn't bring in accuracy, as simple as that, especially when the volumes go up. It's not scalable, okay? So then the pain points drive, the corporate strategy, so to say the corporate strategy next year. So I think it's always both.
Yeah, it's always both, but when there is a transactional piece happening, the corporate element of it is visible. I mean, at least they take cognizant of that, right? What about you?
So, I think unless there's a corporate strategy, like you said, which becomes visible with transactions, the transactions won't happen.
No, this move from 1 to 70.
Yep. There was a strategy behind it. So again, we had, for example, a McDelivery app, which was there, which had hardly any users before the pandemic and the change in the customers happened. Creating an app, investing in an app, it was a big investment. It was a strategy, which paid off when the consumer trend moved. So when the transactions happened, that strategy paid off. Similar, I think, with a lot of other things, CDPs and omni-channel, right? It's a thought-out strategy. Customers not asking for omni-channel, at least explicitly. So a lot of the changes are part of strategy. Is the customer demand or the change in customer behavior which surfaces those strategies. Otherwise, a lot of strategies come and go which nobody can see.
Absolutely. Abhishek, how did it happen in M&S?
I think it started out with more of a point in time thing, but now it's a larger corporate strategy. Why it's a corporate strategy is because unless you have it, you will not deploy tools which will tie into each other, and you might end up building a Lego tower which might collapse at any time. So now it's a larger roadmap. There's a whole 5-year vision, and it's a larger corporate strategy on how we have to transform.
So you've made the transition from it being a point in a solution to a larger corporate strategy. How many retailers out here? And how many service providers, if I may say? Okay. Ashim, when you speak to your clients or prospects, what is the messaging that you give to them? Because you've clearly heard that they are looking at all these interventions as part of being a larger corporate strategy. They would not want to be in a scenario where you approach them with a solution that solves one small nifty problem. So what's been your approach?
So basically,
so all solution providers hear him carefully. Huh? He's been very successful in driving his business. So you'll get some nuggets of information. Yeah.
Thank you. So we have been trying for last 25 years, and Impinj started 25 years ago. iTech started 25 years.
Is that a complaint saying that for 25 years they made you run around?
No, it is not a complaint. It is a life cycle. It's a maturity model. Like it takes 9 months to make a baby. And in the same way, a particular technology has got a life cycle. And because it all happens for the first time, it's very difficult to predict. But what we are very confident why it is going in the right direction. 5 years ago, iTech was the only stand which was positioning RFID. Today, you will find at least 10 players who are positioning RFID in this show. So we are definitely doing something right, that from one stand of iTech to 10 more stands in the same show, which shows that RFID is moving in the right direction. How we are trying to convince the customer is basically, RFID has a myth around it that it's an expensive technology, and because when it is compared with barcode, where And I believe that few years ago, maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago, when people were not using barcodes, they were just using printed labels, self-adhesive printed labels. And maybe before that, when people were using glued labels, they might have gone through the same transition. From glued handwritten labels to printed labels, from printed labels to barcoded labels, from barcoded labels to RFID labels. So whenever there is a change happening, people will keep on comparing. And what we are trying to do is we are trying to demonstrate the use cases and the immense possibilities which RFID can bring into your business. What we are trying to do is we are positioning RFID as a blockchain of the physical world. What blockchain is doing with your data, RFID is doing with your product. And we don't track more, but we trace more. And there is a difference between the tracking and tracing. And what this traceability is giving us is from the point, if we talk about retail, we are going from the point of sale to the source. And with this intelligence and the freshness of the data and the correctness of the data and the accuracy of data, whatever AI investments or any other data investments which you are doing, it is becoming more fruitful and more sensible. If you are building any AI on a data which is 6 months old or 1 year old, you can imagine what the quality of the output is. But with RFID, we are giving you the data of your inventory or your traceability, which is taken in the morning. And that is where I think the most convincing point is the freshness of the data, the freshness of the traceability and the source. Thank you.
Now it's a good time. Do any one of you have a question for the panel here? Any question so far? Either they've completely understood you or they don't believe you at all. Yeah? But I would want to take solace in the fact that it's probably the former. But having said that, now so we've established a baseline saying that all digital transformation initiatives at this point in time are a corporate imperative. They might have started off as a point solution at some point in time, but then today, as we speak, they are a corporate imperative. And if you listen very carefully to what Ashim was saying, he was not trying to solve a particular problem using one RFID chip. He was talking about how do you gain insights once you adopt a technology like RFID, and how you can help, how you can drive the business better. And I think that's the kind of a conversation. I've been a service provider for a larger part of my life, and I've seen the difference in the way conversations have shaped over the last 25, 30 years. So it's very good. But now, cutting to the chase, what are you guys doing today? Yeah, the past was good. What are you guys doing today? What is something nice from a digital intervention perspective that you're doing today that you would want to share with the audience? Jakpreet?
Not easy to answer that in an open forum.
There goes my commission.
What we are focused on is two parts. One is improving our restaurant operations. If there's a restaurant in Kolhapur, does it open on time? Does it close on time? Does the manager manage the restaurant properly, and is the customer having a good experience? So how do we make sure that we are able to manage that? So that is one thing. So and secondly, we are looking at how customer experiences are evolving. Like we have a kiosk outside today, which is where you can place an order with voice. Not something we are offering, but technology is evolving. Customer behavior will evolve, and we have to evolve with it. So that's the second thing we are keeping in, a track of and trying to stay ahead of the curve. So changing customer behaviors as well as managing our restaurants better and serving our customer better is what we do for a living. So yeah, so that's.
Yeah. So essentially you're trying to see as to how do you make operations and customer experience better. Yeah, okay. Sujoy, what's happening at Tim Hortons?
So one thing which has definitely happened, and rather it's going to only accelerate from here, is use of IoTs. Just to give you an example, we use sensors to actually do predictive maintenance of all our coffee machines, all our accessories at the stores, which is effectively, you can talk of that as a digital twin, okay, and which basically measures every bit of whether it is the water pressure, whether it is the beans getting consumed, and that helps a lot, okay. Now, actually, that takes back to one very critical part of any digital transformation, that is, how do you keep it seamless? This is something that keeps it seamless, because all you're doing is just monitoring the data. It is one way. And you just send a maintenance guy who just fixes X, okay, while the stores are not disturbed at all, right? So this is, and just to take this ahead, the use of IoT, so to say, I think will only increase in this space, especially in our space, okay? Of course, there is a lot of work happening on the digital part of it. In India, as we always see, a lot of work that anyway happens on the aggregator side of it. That's definitely there, which is given and which has already happened. Then the next part is, how do you actually augment that with your own digital capabilities? While Jagpreet was talking about kiosks, for example, many of our stores, you would see there are table ordering solutions which are already there. Okay, so we kind of rolled out. And this, again, would evolve. Be it table ordering, pick up at stores, would evolve. And you can see that in multiple mall type outlets. For you get into airports and you can actually order and you can do a pick up at store or pick up. In some cases you can do pick up at gates. In some cases you can't. I mean, there in airports a lot of restrictions with respect to security and so to say. But yeah, so these are the kind of work that's definitely happening. Yeah.
No, that's fantastic, because you actually touched upon something that's not visible to the consumer, which is the predictive maintenance, the use of IoT to ensuring that your operations are seamless. I think that's good. Abhishek, what's happening at Marks and Spencer as we speak?
So I will divide the answer into two parts. In terms of supply, it's about how do we move around the stocks faster between stores, warehouse, the online channels. How do we deliver faster to the consumers? From a customer experience point of view, how do we improve the experience in the stores, which basically means availability, which also means measuring and figuring out what works where. From the online perspective, it's more about building predictive engines for analytics and personalization engines on our UI UX, so that we decrease the amount of time the customer will take to reach the product they would need. So some of these initiatives are there, though they are very simple sounding, but it requires a lot of tech and work in the back to enable them, and they all have to work together seamlessly, which goes to the larger point of having a vision of where we want to be 3 years, 5 years from now.
And what kind of a time frame do you have in mind for these initiatives?
So initiatives actually have various stages, so they are already being implemented. There are different stages. So there is no end point that it will end, because by the time 2 years elapse, we'll have a newer and a better technology in place.
Right.
So we are already in the middle of what we are doing right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Frederick, what do you see your customers doing today?
So, you know that RFID has been a game changer for some time. The first implementation started at Marks and Spencer in Europe in 2006. But we see today the evaluation we have about the market penetration at retail level in the US and Europe is around 40%, 10% in Asia. So RFID adoption is getting broader and broader, and we see a lot of different use cases applicable. So first one is, of course, the full visibility of your supply chain from point of production to point of sales, definitely. We see use cases like self-checkout coming up. You have Decathlon shop here when you drop your garment into the basket and immediately you can check out. It has improved the speed of checkout by 50 to 75%. That's significant. The stock accuracy is also something critical, because without RFID, your stock accuracy, what we have evaluated in the past, was around 65%. Moving to RFID, you move to 95%. It's a big, big improvement. And as a consequence, you have a sales uplift between 2 to 8%. So this is what we see today. The omni-channel enablement. You buy online, you pick up on store because you have your inventory accurate in all locations. You have your product in, and globally you have the full visibility. Another use case, of course, is loss prevention. So RFID more and more is used for loss prevention. Retailers get rid of EAS, AM system. They move everything to RFID. So they have one tag doing inventory management, doing self-checkout, doing loss prevention. And the other use case we see, which is really interesting, is to when you have overhead readers in the shops, you can enable, you can track the motion of garments within the shop. So for instance, I'm a consumer, I purchase, I take a pant in shelf A, I go to the fitting room, I try the pant, I don't like it, I bring it back to the shelf. At brand level, if you see this pattern repeated again and again, you have a red flag rising. And then your design team can step in, say, oh, maybe I have to change the design, or the procurement can put on hold the purchase they place to the garment vendor. These are the use cases we see today.
No, fantastic, Frederick, for sharing that. So, Ashim, now we've seen the supply side, the demand side. We've seen omni-channel enablement being one of the areas. We've seen the back-end operations, being also core to what these folks are doing. Anything apart from these that you see in the market today?
Yeah, I mean, there are some customer-specific use cases which are coming in, because what RFID is doing is triggering the imagination and triggering the thought process of the store associates and the users of the technology, not the consumers, our customer, not our customer's customer.
Okay.
And a lot of unique use cases are coming up, and a few of them which are very, very specific. But what we see as a traction is from, in retail, from fashion, footwear, we are now seeing some traction happening in jewelry, and we are also seeing some traction for case level identification, not item level identification, in food and other industries as well. So I think people are started realizing that RFID is not only for item level tracking in fashion, but also for other industries, and we are getting a lot of inquiries and leads from there as well. Yeah.
No, thank you so much, Ashim, for sharing that. I think that's important, and that trend kind of aligns well with what the gentlemen have been talking about in terms of operational efficiencies as well, right? Now, so we are towards the end. What are the lessons learned? What is it that you don't want the nice folks in the audience to repeat as a mistake? Very quickly. Sujoy.
I think one, there ought to be an involvement of course, the senior management in driving stuff, and that's where corporate strategy comes into play. But there ought to be inputs taken from people working at the ground level, because that helps in adoption faster.
So identify all stakeholders, take inputs from all stakeholders.
Yeah, key
Okay.
stakeholders, yeah.
Sandeep.
I think number one, what Sujay talks about is a part of your business plan, business strategy. Second is the way.
So what you're essentially saying is that do not start off on an initiative in isolation.
Yeah.
Just because your neighbor is doing it.
Yeah, it is to be part of your business plan, and then to fuel that business plan, what technology will help. Don't run after the technology, run after the business problem and what technology can solve it. That's the clear message. I feel that it's a big learning.
Sure.
Second big piece, which is about the way we had been operating. So whether internal IT team had been operating in a very old way where we get requirement and we get BRDs we develop it. I think that needs to change yesterday. You need to move to an whole cross-functional team pods to be created. They own the product. So the way we used to, I'm saying all used to see the projects and ye implement karna hai. This project, instead of saying this is the product which I'm building for a either consumer experience or employee experience, get everyone on the one page, let them build what journeys, and then you build the solution. That will change the way the product will be built and adopted, and the benefit will come.
Sure, thanks. Jakpreet, anything to add to what both of them said?
So, couple of things. I think one thing that I want to completely agree with Sujay. What we say is the truth lies in the restaurant for us. So the truth lies in your end location, not in your head office. So that is something very important to keep in mind at all times. And second is change. You don't know when and in what manner it's going to hit you, but how you respond to it and how you have your own vision when you're looking at change is going to be very important on who sort of takes the lead in the next 5 years.
Thank you so much. Abhishek, last words from you.
I will just add one more point is when planning technology, use technology which is nimble and flexible to get in or get out. Small example, I mean, we talk about websites. There are big tools to make websites. Today we have a Replit or a Lovable, which can create a website in 10 minutes. This is the state of technology today. Imagine what happens after 1 year. So when you are facing a new technology, you should have a stack which should allow you to exit pieces and enter new pieces, headless architecture kind of a thing. Very, very critical.
Excellent. So what I could kind of distill from the last 45 minutes is that there's been a significant amount of digital adoption across these sectors that we've seen. And it's been more driven by as a corporate initiative. And very, very clearly it comes out that the focus has to be both on the demand and supply side of things as part of the larger corporate plan. Omni-channel enablement. I know we've been speaking omni-channel for, I don't know, God knows how many years, and that still remains a challenge for a lot of folks. And I think one very, very important thing that Abhishek mentioned was course correct when it comes to it. And not to stick to something just because you've kind of invested into it, but be ready to course correct. Don't run after technology. Don't run after Ashim and Frederick, right? Let Ashim and Frederick run after you. No, that's not the intent. Not the intent. Run with them. Run with them to enable your business plan. And last but not the least, what Abhishek mentioned in terms of evaluate the technology in its with its proper merits, which allows you to be flexible in enabling your business plans. I hope I did justice in kind of summing up what has been discussed so far. So I guess time's up. Time's been up for the past 5 minutes. So before we are forced out of this stage, if there are any questions, I'll take a couple of them. Any questions? Disturbed. Sound of silence. Okay. Anyways, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for being such a patient audience. And thank you, folks. Really appreciate the candid manner in which you've shared quite a few things. And I hope it has been useful for everyone who's been listening to you. Thank you very much.